Okay, so we got out our calculator, and now we're going to figure out what this number is base 10. So the directions say convert this to base 10. So here, there was a little 4 written down low. So that's like a subscript, right? So it's written down low, this 4. And this is how we convert it base 10 using this formula, right? Using this pattern. So now I'm going to get out my calculator. And I'm going to say, okay, 1 times 4 to the 0, anything to the 0 is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So 1 times 1 equals 1. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write these out with my calculator, and I'm going to add them up to figure out what that number is base 10. So 0 times 4 to the 1 is 0. What's 4 squared? 4 times 4 is, times 3 is 48. What's 4 to the third? 64. You'll have a calculator, right? So it's 64 times 2 is 128. 4 to the fourth is 256 times 1 is 256. So, oh yeah, thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to add these. Another thing that I think math helps you understand the news too. I think I was coming to school last semester. We're going to talk about percent change. Like something increased by 50%, something decreased by 20%. I heard an advertisement on the radio on my way to work, and it said, Duke Energy, we're going to increase our reliance on solar power by 50% over the next 5 years. What does that mean? Okay, it means something good, but how good, right? I don't know. But the thing is that people are hearing that, and they're going, okay, that sounds good. I like Duke Energy, right? But let's say I'm starting with 2 solar panels. I'm increasing it by 50% over 5 years. That's garbage, right? So they're giving you numbers because they think people don't understand numbers. They're giving you numbers that sound good, but if you don't understand it, or if they don't give you more information because they think people don't think about math a lot, you're getting played, right? Electric Power in North Carolina. Okay, so when you added this up, but the thing is that there's numbers like that in the news all the time. There's numbers like that in advertisements all the time. But if you don't understand what they're talking about, they can just throw numbers at you all day. I think I was talking to one of the other math professors, and she said that there's some sort of a budgeting tool through her bank, and the budgeting tool said, you've increased your spending on electricity by 300%. And she was like, those numbers are wrong, right? But it's like Wells Fargo, who is a bank for a bajillion people, right? Very iffy. They were opening banks for people, right? Open an extra account so they could meet sales potential. Okay, so this number is 433, right? So that's base 10, which base 4 looks like this.
Now, will you always use the base or no?
Yeah. Yeah, if I ask convert this to base 10, I would give you a number. I could say create your own, right? Give an example, which means that this is what you need to know right here, right? If you have to write your own number and convert it to base 10, You need to know this fact.
But you give us the base though?
No, I could say come up with an example of base not 10 and convert it to base 10.
Other than the example, but like, so like on test, like, would you just give us like the numbers and the base and we could do all that?
This is a good example for a test. I think that's what you're asking.
Like, what would you use this in? Or like,
So, do you guys?
Like a serious question. I'm not being serious.
No, I don't think you ever are. I think you're being very genuine. Okay, so do you guys know computer programming?
Yes.
Yeah, so like 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, right? So that's like the basics of computer programming.
Computer language.
Yeah, so that's a base, right? It's base 2.
Okay.
You know, you write 1s and 2s in order to computer program. What's it called again?
It's binary.
Binary.
Yeah.
So if you have to do stuff in binary, that is a base 2, right? Because you only write 0s and 1s. You did it in high school?
Oh, yeah, I took a network class in my senior year, but I didn't know what was going on in that class.
Well, let's do a base 2 example because that is the biggest application that I can think of. So let's do another example. So if I'm doing base 2, I only see 0s and 1s, right? So what I'm doing right now is just writing a series of 0s and 1s, and then we're going to convert it together. Let's do that. Okay, and I'll put base 2. So this is how, convert this to base 10.
So is that number base 2? Is that saying what base is, or is that saying that's what you want to be converted?
This is what base this number is. I want it converted to base 10. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to write down this same exact pattern, right? So see if you can write down this same exact pattern for this number. Our base, instead of this example, our base was 4. Now we're doing base 2. Start with power 0, power 1, power 2. So this is what I got for my just writing out the system.
Isn't the last one supposed to be 1, not 0?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply them, and then I add them all up, right? So I'm converting from base 2 to base 10, right? So I'm going to write down what all of these numbers equal, multiply them with my calculator the regular way, and then I'm going to add them all up. So what's 2 to the 0 power? Anything to the 0 power is 1, right? So 1 times 1 is 1. What's 2 squared? 4 times 1 is 4. What's 2 cubed? 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. And these are 0, 0. 2 to the 7th is 128. Times 1 is 128. So I have 128 plus 8 plus 4 plus 1. So I get 141. That should help with your high school class. All right, so who can tell me the general rule for converting things? So in general, to convert to base 10. So is this all clear, this other example?
So you're taking the two. So how is base 10? What if you want to convert from base 2 to base 3? Like,
That would be a lot.
yeah. So that, how does that just base 2 become base 10 then? Like, I don't understand how we got from base 2.
Base 2, doing these calculations right here, convert it to base 10.
But how would you convert it to something else besides base 10?
So here we're only going to convert things from a different base to base 10.
Okay.
Because if we convert from base 10 to something else, it's a lot more stuff.
Okay.
We could do it, but I think it's just a lot of extra stuff, whereas I think just converting from here to here is good.
Okay.
Right? Like if I wanted to convert from base 10 to base 2, how do I write 3 in base 2? You can write 3 in base 2. But here I can have 0 or 1, right? That's 1. Here I can have 0 or 1. If I have a 1, right? So you'd have to go through and think about each place, what you can put and what that equals. It would be a lot more stuff. That's why we're doing it the easier way. Okay, so in general, to convert to base 10, we have a number, whatever that number is, and then we have base B. Remember that only 0 to base minus 1 appear, right? So if this is base 6, I have between 0 and 5 appear. If this is base 9, I have between 0 and 8 appear, right? So only 0 to base minus 1 appear as numerals. Okay? And then to convert, what's the pattern? It's this times base to the 0. This times base to the 1. This times base squared. And so on and so forth, right? And then I add them up. So I'm adding these up, right? That's how I convert. That's the general process. Add them up to get what you have for base 10. So this is the general process. Okay, so let's do another example. So we'll do one more. You guys can do it on your own to make sure you understand. Eight, 7, 2, 0, 1, 4. So what base could this be? What are my options for this base? So I see the number 8. So the smallest base it could be is 9, right? It could be base 10, but then we wouldn't really be talking about it right now, right? So I see an 8. That means this can be base 9 or base 10. Okay, so I want you guys to convert it on your own. Try to copy this process that we just did up there and see if you can do it. So 872014 base 9. So I'm going to write down my work. You guys try to write it down on your own to see if you can do it, to see if you know the pattern. So we can do a couple more examples of these two to finish up class, but then this is what we're doing in this section. So I will assign the homework, and I'll make it due on Thursday so that you guys can practice. You guys can look at the homework between now and Thursday, and then bring your questions to class on Thursday, okay? So write it out and check your answer. This is what I got. If I made a mistake, let me know. I think if you turn your cell phone sideways, there is a power. Right?
What calculators are we not allowed to use?
TI Inspire. Anything that can hook to the internet or take pictures. I'll have to look at the next test. I think we're not going to do. I think we might do some more stuff that I don't want calculators for. So I'll have to see where we end up with the next test. But if you're using your phone right now, you do this button, right, for the power. It's X to the Y. So here I would go like 9, this button 3. Yeah, so if you turn this is how I know how to do it on an iPhone. You turn it sideways and that gives you like a scientific calculator. So if you want to use it in class like that, that's fine. So do it sideways, and then you see this little button, X to the Y? So let's say I wanted to do 9 to the 3rd. I do 9, then I press the button, then 3 equals. Okay?
Is the answer?
This is the answer. Did you guys get it? Did I make a mistake?
So we can write it down to base 10 by just adding them?
By writing out the base to the powers and then adding them up. So that's the process to convert any base to base 10. Okay? All right, so if you guys have a question,